And back with another Warframe video. This time I'm going to be talking about the War Within, and doing it at the same time I'm going to be doing the most brainless thing I can imagine, hunting for I-10 sculptures. Now, having several, at least a month to go play the War Within a couple times to get a better feel for it, I can give it a resounding meh. It's okay. It's not particularly great, it's not awful. If I had to rate it with other quests, I'd say it's roughly in line with like the Patient Zero, which is not a particularly good thing to say about it considering how much time and effort went into it. It was delayed for 6 months and I'm still trying to figure out where roughly that time went because I just don't see it. It's a pretty average quest. The writing is, if I have to be honest, kind of weak in comparison to like some other things they've done. It's not awful, it's certainly not their beginning work, but it's not as good as I was expecting it to be. It has its moments, but overarchingly it's not that impressive. And, to kind of address my points directly, little summary of the missions. The first one, you go out to the moon, Teshin's screwing around with transference equipment, you follow him, capture a Spectre, and mission's over. Second mission, you have to capture another Spectre to get coordinates of where he's at. Well, why do you need to capture another Spectre? You got it the last mission. That is the biggest clue I have to this was a compromised script. That mission does not need to be there. It exists purely to expand the time a little bit longer. It was probably in an earlier draft and they just didn't want to take it out. It pads out this quest for no real gain. The third one is really where you get into the heart of the quest and really the problems begin. You go out to Sedna, find the Queen's base. The Lotus has never really been able to confirm up till now. Go meet the Queens and you get hijacked out of your Warframe. Then, because you can't transfer anymore, Ordis tries to kill you. Then immediately you go to a place on Earth. Mountain. It's probably like Mount Everest or something like that, but not necessarily. But that is really where I have the biggest problems with this. You get zapped out of transference. Okay, fine. Queens are old heroic, and they'd probably know how to do stuff like that. But why would Ordis let you, if he's trying to kill you, why would he let you get all the way to Earth from Sedna? That's a long, long trip, and you're being shot at the same time. It's that part that makes me believe that, there is going to be a big chunk of other things in there, especially with the Riven mods being in-game. They're not explained, they're just kind of thrown there right after the missions and the quest is over, without any real explanation. I suspect there's going to be a bunch of missions where you're supposed to figure out what happened and how, and they probably just figured it was taking too long and cut it out. They still have the Riven mods in there, the reward for the quest itself, but no explanation for why they're there. Please tell me I don't have to use Unstuck to get out of this. There we go. And, there's an explanation for it. It's Teshin used his powers to send you some weird mindscape place. Powers he's never really demonstrated before, or had any idea what he had. Yeah, he telekinesis his sword earlier in the mission set, but that's still a big step away from what I would consider, meaningful confirmation to it. So they can kind of get away with, inconsistencies like that because they say, well, it's all in your mind, so it doesn't really matter. It feels more of an excuse than, direct, that is a good answer. Just, they ran out of ideas, I suspect. I can imagine like a week or two into June where they're about ready to go and record the whole thing. John handed the script off for last minute look over for people who hadn't been a part of it, and came back with a dozen different questions of why is this happening, I don't get it, this isn't explained. And then realize that, oh crap, this script has dozens of plot holes, we need to go fix that now. And spent so much time rewriting it and answering everything, they realized, oh, this quest is now 8 hours long, we can't do that. And spent the next 6 months trying to par it into something useful. They announced it way too early. They've acknowledged it themselves. They went too aggressive in trying to find, wanting to top themselves with the second dream, and that's what killed them. Whenever you're trying to, top yourself, you generally end up screwing up horribly because you're not really trying to make a good story. You're trying to, do better. And that will always trip you up. The rest of the quest I don't have too much of an issue with. I know people had problems with the Tremors worm, but I saw that movie, so I was quite confident I needed to know what I was going to do. I just had a mouse that was kind of going out, and the side button on it is what my crouch is, so I'd hit crouch, it wouldn't respond for like half a second. Like, I'm dead already. Well, I can't really blame anyone but me for that. I do have problems with, like, how much energy is displayed, because it's not really obvious. It's on the crosshair, so it's really easy to just ignore because you don't really think about the crosshair. Like, the energy right here is like on the lower right hand corner. That's where I was looking for it. It's where it always is in the past. This is just one occasion where it wasn't. And they may have fixed that. They got, at least that actually finished the quest before I figured out where it was at, so there's something up there. No, it's rock, though. It's a statue. Damn. That is the bulk of my complaint about this. That they didn't really have a good idea what they were doing, and it showed. Like, the morality system in it is interesting, but at the same time has pretty much the same flaws I've found with every other morality system. It's trying to boil things down to black and white, one or the other, and morality is not that way. You can't really just, pick an option and be consistent with it. It doesn't work. It's better than what I've seen, because it's not pure good and evil. It's not BioWare that tries to go, well, this isn't really good or evil. The totally not evil option is, feed cannibals, children or something dumb like that. It seems to be more passive and aggressive, which is, I suppose, interesting enough if they continue with a thought. And, I know the Glass Gambit does, in fact, have some, morality in it, morality choices in it that are a little better than good versus evil, so there is that. But for the War Within, oh, interesting ship box. Love that bug. It's not very good, and I do hope they've learned their lesson of not announcing things long before they're ready. I'm sure somebody got chewed out or, fined heavily for this. You can't announce something months on it ahead of time, don't deliver for 6 months after the due date and expect nothing to happen. I'm confident, like, the recent farming costs are probably related to that, where, whatever their company that owns them now wants their money back, or wants a return on investment, and I can't really blame them for that. Money is money. But until then, we're probably just going to have to suffer some really bad farming costs. But not me, because I'm going to stop playing for a little while. I've kind of gotten bored of the game recently. I have played it extensively, I just don't have anything left to do in it. Sure, I could farm for, like, the new primes, but I don't really care that much. But since I feel like talking some more, the most recent quest, Glass Gambit. Good writing. I'm not playing 18 rounds of the index. It's not going to happen, so I will wait a long, long time before getting it. Glass Gambit, it's honestly, like, just, DE at its finest. Like, the writing is really good, the set is really good, and then the gameplay is awful. I don't know who designs these things, but they really need to have a long chat with each other, getting more consistent on actual gameplay, because 18 rounds of wannabe team deathmatch is not interesting. It's not fun, and considering it's really intrinsic to, like, future gameplay, they need to stop doing that. Like, yes, it's attached to a Warframe they want people to buy, but most of the bits for it come in another mission, so it's not finish this and get it. I've heard from other people it's sort of bugged, and it's definitely a quest you want to play on your own, because, your teammates can and will screw you over, and if they find it amusing, probably will. So, it's nice that they're finally, fleshing the world out after 30 years, but, just wish they'd done it a little bit sooner in ways that were less obnoxious. So nope. Let's see, what else to talk about? No, I can't think of anything. I was planning on it. No, I can't. Is that a statue? It used to be a statue. I haven't been looking for a while. No, it's a rock. Yeah. There's one more thing I was going to mention, but it's also 3 in the morning, so I suppose I can't blame myself too much for remembering terribly well. Oh yeah, the Rivens, and well, good idea, terrible, awful, miserable execution. Like, the notion of, getting mods to actually bring, terrible weapons back up to speed, not a bad idea. Like, a lot of beginner weapons are kind of trash by design. They don't want, D does not want people having, one weapon that will carry them all through the game. You want multiple ones. Riven mods are not designed to drive sales of Riven slots. They're designed to drive sales of weapon slots, because, you find some cool weapon that you liked, but it was absolute garbage, you couldn't use anymore. Now you have, multi-stat mod that actually fixes its problems. Like, the one I pulled for completing the War Within was for the Grinlock. I thought it was a sniper weapon, wasn't interested in trying it. Pulled it out, why not? Maybe it's good. I actually like the weapon a lot. It's a nice little lever action rifle, click-clack, and it's fun. I've stuffed multiple form onto it, take it down to Heracon to go farm, it's fun. And the second one I got from a sortie was from the Hind. It's garbage. I've re-rolled it 3 times. It will never be anything but garbage. Hey, I've got my Ember Prime up to World on Fire 3 now. Now I will just go casually stroll through this mission because I don't need to fear anything anymore. So, if certain weapons had been excluded from, possible Rivens from the start, there wouldn't have been, as much of a fight over it, or as many bad feelings. Simply because, if you can get a Riven mod for the Soma, or the Simul, or the Tonk, or any other meta weapons, well, it isn't going to matter if you can get one for that isn't. It's just those are always going to be much better options. Well, they've changed it a little bit so, like, the stat bonuses aren't as extreme on certain weapons. I feel a little bit too late. They should just have been excluded from the start. There's no reason to have them on that list at all. You can pretty much guarantee everyone has a Simulator, the Soma, or the Tonker. I only have the Soma, so yeah. I don't really feel I had the Simulator, the regular one, and I don't feel the need to have it again. I tried the Tonker, just What to use is a grenade launcher, not a melee weapon. So, had they put more thought into it, and I suspect this was just thrown out, at the end because they'd run out of, any other thing to do after, 6 months of delays. Probably we're not going to delay it any longer and keep their jobs. I have one behind me, that's not fair. So, interesting idea, terrible execution. I know people complained about, like, the challenges, but, like, they're honestly not that awful. They're mostly just, like, gear checks at worst, like, especially the, don't let the defense target take any damage. Like, well, do you have a Frost? Yes, no. Or Limbo, or, one of the other frames like that. It's, again, not awful, but some of which are kind of silly, but it's still doable, at least with one other person. So that's my little video on Warframe. I'm probably not going to have one for a considerable period of time because, well, I've been playing Warframe a lot and I have nothing to do. I could farm for, the new Prime equipment, but I don't really like Necros. Valkyr is nice, but I already have regular Valkyr. Yeah, it should be better, but, like, they're not significantly better enough that I actually care to. Like, I finally have Frost Prime, Ember Prime. I've got the next couple of sets, so I don't need to worry about vaulting. So, this is definitely going to be my last video for, like, a long time. Probably almost a year. So, I'm going to think about doing other games. Probably a little bit of the Secret World. Transistor, maybe. Maybe I'll do, like, a Let's Play of Dishonored whenever I get around to it. So, until next time, bye.